Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you this really awesome clay project for winter. And we're going to start by making a 6-pointed snowflake because snowflakes have 6 points, like a dendrite snowflake. So you're going to have to follow my video on how to fold a 6-point snowflake, and then you can start to cut. For this project, since it's going to be a clay plate project, we want to make sure that this paper template is not cut too intricately. So I've started already to fold and cut this paper snowflake, and I am making like a dendrite because I've got the center kind of gone, and I'm going to make arms there. And when I do the cuts, I don't want these too small, and I also don't want them too close together. So I am going to just cut something that's fairly simple. And one rule of thumb that I say is that if you have a cut here, think about the next cut being a little more diagonal rather than straight across from it right here. Okay, so I'm just going to do this fairly simple, and I'll open it up for you and then we'll start from there. Okay. So this is going to be a pretty simple snowflake to use. So I've got my 6 arms on it, and I don't have cuts that are too small. I'm going to be able to actually use this as my template for my clay plate. Okay, so what you'll need for this project is some sort of plastic plate. You're going to need a nice rolling pin. I always like the ones that don't have the handles on them, but nice rolling pin anyway. You're going to need some water and a needle tool, paper towel, possibly a little brush like this, and a pencil. So let's get started on making a slab, because we're going to make a slab by just rolling it out. So I always use a piece of canvas to put on my table. And I'm going to make sure that I start by just taking my canvas, or taking my clay, and palm over palm, I'm going to press that down. Okay, now when you're making a slab for some sort of slab built clay project, you're going to want that slab to be very even all the way through. So when you start to roll this, roll from the center. So I'm going to put this down, and I want to make sure that my snowflake is on hand because I want it to be big enough so that it fits my snowflake. Now I wanted to just show you, like, if you were going to get more intricate, you don't want to get too intricate with the cuts of your snowflake because it will get a little more difficult to get these things out, and as you'll see in a minute, these lines absolutely not. You're not going to be able to do that. But this you might be able to do. So it really depends on how intricate you want it. So let's start rolling from the center. Make sure you're pushing right in the center, and you push out a few times. Okay, then back. Okay, think about, you want this to be very even. All right, and we don't want it too thin. So what we're going to do is, once we've rolled it a few times, this way we're going to take it, and I always put my rolling pin down to hold the canvas down, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to flip it and turn it. Okay, give it one little turn. And then I'm going to start from the other side, and from the center, roll out. Okay, so just keep repeating that until you have a nice even slab of clay, and it's not super thin or really thick. As you can see, that's what the thickness I've got so far. I'm going to want it thinner than that. So again, roll from the center. Okay, make sure that your canvas is not folded. If you have some sort of fold in your canvas, that's going to end up on the bottom of your clay. Okay, we're going to flip and turn as well. Start from the center again. Okay, now don't ever roll off of the edge. You don't want a hill in your clay, okay? You don't want something that kind of goes up and then down, and you have something very thick in the center and then thin on the edges. All right, this looks really good. So I'm going to flip it over one more time and just kind of check it and see if any higher spots. If there's any higher spots, I just kind of roll over those higher spots. But this looks really good. So I've got my snowflake template all ready to go. All right. There we go. Very nice. I'm going to use my snowflake template, put it right over the top of this. It fits perfectly in that space. And just push it down a little bit. Get your needle tool, and you are going to cut straight up and down. Like, we don't want to see this type of cut where we're cutting like at an angle. Cut straight up and down. Now, this is the fun part. First, go around your edge. Hold your paper. Go around the edge, straight up and down with your needle tool, and cut out all of your snowflake around the edge. So you see how my finger is holding the clay. Oh, my finger is not holding the clay, it is holding the paper. Okay, so straight up and down, I cut some pieces off. And turn your canvas if you need to. Cut right off the edge if you need to. Okay, but straight up and down. You want this to be precise. Okay, now that I have all the outside cut off, take all of the extra clay and, like I said, just ball it up, put it on the side so that it doesn't all dry out, and you can recycle that clay. So now I'm taking my needle tool and I'm going to cut out all of my little inside pieces straight up and down, same type of technique where you're straight up and down and you're kind of holding the edge of the paper. And if you are precisely cutting, this piece should come right out by like a little jab in it, and you're kind of pulling up like that. Okay, so we're going to go around, we're going to cut all of these out. Now, if you see that something is too small for you, skip it, but make sure you're skipping all the other ones that go along with it. So if you're kind of doing a piece and you're like, whoa, that's a little too small for me, then yep, go ahead and skip it, but make sure you skip the other ones. Because your snowflake is a radial design, you don't want it to be too far off, although, if there are small differences because of the snowflake not being exactly precise, your snowflakes are not exact anyway. It's nature's creation, so. All right, almost done with this. And I think this is the part that everyone really loves to do. Boop, and then take it right out, like the game of operation. Last one, there. Okay, now just go around and make sure that you have all your pieces out. And then you're gonna take your paper right off there, okay? So your edges are pretty rough. What you wanna do with that is make sure that you get all of your little clay crumbs off by just kind of wiping it off a little bit. I like to use a little brush, okay? But I mean, most of the time, really, you can just use your fingers and a little bit of water, maybe a wet paper towel. Okay, we're going to just kind of brush this off a little bit. Okay, and then let's go around the edges. I want this to be touchable and smooth and nice for people to pick up without ripping up their fingers on it. So we're going to take a little bit of water. Okay, just dip your paper towel in the water. If you have a little sponge, that's nice too. And don't make it too wet. Like, I don't want this sopping wet. Remember, clay is dirt. It will go back to dirt if you put too much water on it. So let's go around it, and when we go around it, don't just go on the top of it like this. Let's go around the edge of it. So kind of capture around the edge of your snowflake like that. So we give it a little smooth edge. Okay, and just zip it right around. And some of them are going to be a little more intricate, where you're, making your lines be very kind of geometric and pointed, but some of them are just going to be so smooth that you can kind of zip it right around. So these, I don't want to lose the point, so I'm not going to round the point as much. Okay, so I'm just going to go around that. Make sure though you have a nice smooth edge, because this is really what makes things professional. Clay should not be sharp. It shouldn't cut you when you pick it up. The bottom of it should be nice and clean as well. You don't want to have something be just on one side, because you do touch these things and you want it to be nice in your hands. Okay, well, I'm going to finish this up, and I am going to go into any of these little parts in here. I also encourage using a needle tool back just to kind of scrape the sides a little bit to get some of those clay crumbs out of there. However you can get that to be nice and smooth, use your tools, use your paper towel, use your finger, use your brush if you need to. Okay, but you do want it nice and professionally done. Once you have it all cleaned up on the front, then you're going to very carefully take your hand, go underneath your canvas, put your other hand on top. You're going to flip this over, and I would kind of dust this off a little bit. And you're going to get your back all straightened out as well. The back already might look like it's kind of less crummy. Clay crumbs is what I'm talking about. The back already, so you can decide whether you want the back to be the front or however you want. I tend to like the roundness that I get on the front. Don't forget to put your name on it, and I also love to put the year on things like this, so that's why we have our pencil. On the back you're going to be writing your name, so we're going to do that. And now we are going to use our plate. I like to get a little scrap of paper, and this is actually the rest of my snowflake paper. So I'm going to put that right on top because I have a plastic plate and it could stick to the plate. So I'm going to put that on top, and I'm going to prepare this to go. I'm going to take my snowflake in my hand very carefully, and I'm going to place it on top of my plate. Okay. Now there's different size plates that you can use. If you wanted this to be curved up a little bit more on the edges, you could use a smaller plate. Or if you didn't want it curved up as much, you could use a larger plate. But this is how it's going to dry, so you just want to make sure that it doesn't stick. So that's why you're going to put like a piece of paper down is really good. And put it down the way that you want it, and you're going to have to let this dry out. So clean up anything that kind of changed a little bit. Okay, make sure all your points are pointy, make sure all of your edges are clean, and then you're done. This goes over on the shelf to dry, and then it will go in the kiln to be fired. And then we will glaze this, and it will be amazing and soft and beautiful with white and maybe some pink and blue and purples in there. Very soft.
Subscribe below, and I'll see you next time.